Greetings and welcome to the 5th episode of Foundational Foundry, our tutorial series through the Foundry in Star Trek Online. I'm Green Dragoon, and I'm joined by my quite amiable co-host, Dragon1701.
Hello.
Duncan Idaho.
Hello.
And Mark Hawkman.
Hey.
So after slowly working our way through the different sections of the Foundry, we come at last to the last two, both of which we'll cover tonight, Dialogue and Costumes. Next up is the dialogue editor, and 9 times out of 10, you will never actually go to this tab by directly selecting it. Most of the time, you'll have a dialogue like placed as an objective or on a map, and you'll get this little window here that you can put in text and tab, or title and text, and you'll notice below it has Advanced Dialogue Editor. If I go there, it automatically takes me to the Dialogs tab and to the specific dialogue tree that I want to access. Title is basically reserved for the name of the NPC that is talking. This can be whoever I choose. This can be one of the stock ones. This can be an NPC I design. It can even be a bridge officer. And in fact, you'll see we have a selection of bridge officers. So we have engineering officer away team, we're engineering officer ship, and then one for each. And this basically picks whoever is the highest ranking bridge officer, either on the away team or on the ship. If you're in space on the ship, these two will basically pull the same person. If you're on the ground, it'll be whoever is the highest ranking science officer in your away team. Or if you're trying to...
It might be the same, though, because you might have your top science officer both on your ground away team and on your ship. Also, it does weird things if you simply don't have one. Apparently there's like a list of stock NPCs that it fills in if you don't have the relevant bridge officer.
Yeah, but in most cases, this will be whatever science officer you left on the ship, and this will be whoever the science officer on your away team is. Actually, I'm not going to make it my science officer. Okay, so the title is whoever the name of the NPC. In the case of bridge officer, I tend to leave this blank because you can't really tell what the name of your the bridge officer is. Some people will do your science officer or just science officer or whatever. I just tend to leave it blank. This will be what they're saying. Can fit up to 1,000 characters in any given dialogue box. These I tend to try to not make it too long, just because you start getting into a couple of paragraphs, it feels long-winded. So I tend to try to break it up and do more conversational. Below this, you have the button that'll appear along the right-hand side of the dialogue. We can actually add multiple buttons for dialogue, and then give them titles. And then if we want to have more responses, these are the responses that your captain can make, and you can have more, and you can branch them out, and you can split them and make more, and you can end up with some very elaborate dialogue trees. All these different interactions. And let's say, for instance, this one, after this one, you want to go back. You can select the little arrow at the bottom here, drag it back up here, and it'll list it to go back to the like here or over here. And so I think it's pretty obvious how this can grow to be pretty complex. I won't get into it this time, but for a future topic, you will notice that buttons have state transitions built into them, which I mentioned earlier on the map segment, which is for showing and hiding items based on interactions. Another advanced topic that for another day, but so all of the dialogues in your mission will appear here, and you can access them this way or just from wherever they exist in the missions. Lastly, the last tab is the costume creator.
One of the most complicated things.
Yeah, but I think it's also the one that the new authors will actually find the most familiar because this bears a striking resemblance to the costume and ship tailor in the main game. So if I create a new ground character, you'll see all of the different options. They're not quite arranged the same way as they are in the tailor, but all the names are easily recognizable. And you can customize your character however you want. These should all be like super familiar to you. You have access to all three factions here, including the Romulans. All the different races, gender, even their default stance.
It's important to pay attention to faction because a lot of costumes are unique to specific races.
Yeah.
Like there's these gnarly armor options that only Nausicaans can use. You can't put those on other races at all.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and the choices do follow along with what you'll see in the game. And you also do not have to worry about unlocking items to be able to use them in the Foundry. What we have is what we have access to. So not everything in the main game is going to be accessible, especially new content, but a lot of it is. So you can just pick and choose between any available option, races you don't have access to, costumes you don't have access to, and just go nuts with it.
It's separated into 3 tabs: head, upper body, and lower body. The nice thing that you can't do with the main tailor in the game is that it's not doesn't care if these are all in the same category. Let's say, for instance, I got my little outfit here, but maybe I want to. She's wearing the Mako habit for some reason. I can do that because upper body and lower body are set independently of the head.
Also, in the main game, are you able to give a character the Mako armor and then add flowers?
I don't believe so.
No, it still is restricted within the same tab. So I mean, I've only have access to the Mako helmet options here.
Well, I mean, like having her wear the Mako body armor, but not wear the helmet and instead have a wreath of flowers on her head.
Oh yeah, you can do that. Yeah, in the main game, just because that isn't a specific set of Mako options. That's just general head options.
You can definitely do a lot more mixing and matching in the Foundry costume creator than you can in the main game. So it opens up a lot of options to create some really unique costumes.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, like I said, I mean, for people who've played in the tailor at all, this is really not all that foreign.
Just less restricted.
Although the one thing that this does lack is the ability in the main tailor to use the buttons on the side of the sliders to move things incrementally. Here, you just have the slider.
Yeah. We can also create or custom ship NPCs.
And this actually has a lot more options for mixing and matching.
One thing to note, though, is that you do not have the ability to customize just anything. You can only customize things that actually exist as playable ships.
Yeah, so I mean, trying to think of a good example, because I think most ships end up in the lockboxes, which eventually end up in the Foundry. So you can see the list is quite long. So we've actually ended up with quite a collection.
Although it is not entirely comprehensive, but Cryptic is adding more stuff fairly frequently.
I will say, it's not quite as intuitive as it is with the ship tailor, because it's just kind of listed as a bunch of fields. But I mean, if you're used to playing around there at all, the field name should. So you get a few things like ID name, which doesn't actually have any options. It's just the one.
One of the main differences between the Foundry ship costume editor and the in-game one ship editor is that you can choose the hull material texture independently for each part of the ship.
Yeah, that does actually make a big difference with kit bashing, because you can take a silvery look for one part of the ship and mix it with a really, really dark one.
So yeah, you can have some fun.
The costume editor is really a pretty powerful tool.
But yeah, I mean, so like I said, I mean, this one is probably the part that new authors will have the least time or least trouble acclimating to, because it is just a version of ship tailor and costume tailor, respectively. All right, so I think that it pretty much covers. I think we covered all the sections of the Foundry.
Mm-hmm. I think we'll probably end it there for this introductory video. In future episodes, we're going to go in depth into very specific assets of mission building, writing, and all kinds of other things Foundry related, and including. One of the things we plan to do is essentially just put together a quick mission, start to finish, that would be essentially ready to publish, so you can see the whole process from beginning to end.
Yes, and we plan to keep these episodes coming. Now, we've given you a broad look at the Foundry, and you should now be in a place where you can begin to play around with it and figure things out for yourself. And there is no better way to learn than diving right in. Just to recap, in this episode we looked at the Dialogs and Costumes tab and talked a little about each. As Drogan mentioned, in upcoming episodes we'll be taking all of this knowledge and trying to apply it by creating an actual Foundry mission. So stay tuned. In the meantime, if you want to know even more about the Foundry, it's worth tuning into our weekly Foundry podcast called the Foundry Roundtable, where we talk about the latest Foundry news, as well as talk a lot about the theory behind mission design and other things. If you find yourself with questions, you can email us at foundryroundtable@live.com, where it may even become a future Foundational Foundry episode. If you're also looking for to get your questions answered, you can pop into the Foundry subforum over on the official Star Trek Online forums, where we have many, many helpful Foundry authors who would be more than happy to assist. All right. On behalf of my co-hosts, I will bid you all good night.
Goodbye.
Good night.
Noodles!